The moment Maya's camera clicked, capturing the elderly couple's tender kiss beneath the oak tree, she knew exactly why she spent every Saturday afternoon in Riverside Park offering free photography sessions to couples in love. Maya Chen had been doing this for 8 months now, ever since her younger sister Emma had gotten engaged and complained about how expensive engagement photos were. It started as a favor, then became a hobby, and now it was something she looked forward to all week. She worked as a physical therapist at a rehabilitation center downtown, spending her days helping people recover from injuries and surgeries. The photography was her creative outlet, her way of capturing joy in its purest form. She adjusted her long, dark hair into a messy bun as she reviewed the shots on her camera's display screen. The couple, married for 43 years according to their story, beamed at each other in every frame. Maya smiled, feeling that familiar warmth in her chest that came from witnessing genuine love. "Thank you so much, dear," the elderly woman said, clasping Maya's hands. "Our grandson is getting married next month, and we wanted some updated photos for the rehearsal dinner slideshow." "I will email them to you by tomorrow evening," Maya promised, waving as they walked away hand in hand. She settled onto her usual bench, a weathered wooden seat positioned perfectly to observe the main walking path through the park. Her handmade sign, which read "Free Couple Photography Capturing Love, one frame at a time" in cheerful lettering, leaned against the armrest. Her camera bag sat at her feet, and she pulled out a granola bar, enjoying the September breeze that rustled through the changing leaves. What Maya did not know was that for the past 3 Saturdays, someone had been watching her work. Daniel Morrison sat on a bench about 50 yards away, partially hidden behind a newspaper he was not actually reading. At 34, he had learned to appreciate moments of anonymity, something increasingly rare since his company, Morrison Manufacturing, had expanded from a regional operation to a national presence. His late father had built the business from nothing, manufacturing specialized equipment for hospitals and medical facilities. When Daniel took over at 26, after his father's unexpected death, he had modernized operations and expanded their reach. Now the company employed over 2,000 people and generated revenues that had recently crossed the $100 million threshold. But none of that mattered much to Daniel anymore. Not since his wife, Catherine, had died 2 years ago from an aggressive form of leukemia. They had been married for only 4 years, together for 6. She was 29 when she passed, and Daniel felt like he had aged a decade in the months that followed. His mother, Patricia, and his younger sister, Claire, had been pestering him for months about getting out more, meeting people, rejoining the world of the living. He had started taking weekend walks in Riverside Park as a compromise, a way to be around people without actually having to interact with them. That is when he first noticed the woman with the camera and the sign. The first time he saw her, she was photographing a young couple who could not have been more than 20. They were giddy and awkward, clearly early in their relationship. The photographer had been patient and encouraging, making them laugh until their poses looked natural. Daniel had watched the entire session from a distance, fascinated by her energy and kindness. The second Saturday, she photographed 3 different couples. One pair was clearly on a first date and seemed surprised by the offer but accepted. Another was a middle-aged couple celebrating their anniversary. The third was 2 women who had just gotten engaged, showing off their matching rings with uncontainable excitement. The photographer treated each couple with the same enthusiasm and care. Last Saturday, Daniel had arrived early and watched her set up. She was methodical but relaxed, testing her camera settings, positioning her sign, and then simply sitting down to wait for whoever might approach. She photographed 2 couples that day, and during her downtime, she read a paperback book and ate an apple, seemingly content in her own company. Now, this 4th Saturday, Daniel found himself once again drawn to the park, to this bench, to watching this woman work. He told himself it was just a way to pass the time, but he knew that was not entirely true. There was something about her that captivated him. The way she moved, the genuine smile that never seemed forced, the gentle way she directed her subjects. She seemed to radiate a warmth that he had not felt in his own life for a very long time. A young couple approached her bench. Daniel watched as she greeted them with a bright smile, stood up, and began talking with them. After a moment, they nodded enthusiastically, and she led them toward a spot where the afternoon light filtered through the trees in a particularly beautiful way. Daniel folded his newspaper and allowed himself to watch openly now. The couple was young, probably mid-20s, and clearly in love. The photographer positioned them near a fountain, demonstrated poses, then stepped back with her camera. She moved around them fluidly, crouching low, standing on a nearby ledge for a higher angle, constantly talking to them in a way that made them laugh and relax. When the session ended about 20 minutes later, the couple hugged the photographer. They spoke for a few more minutes, presumably exchanging contact information, and then departed looking thrilled. The photographer returned to her bench, reviewed her photos, and pulled out her phone. She typed for a few minutes, then set the phone aside and looked around the park with a contented expression. Daniel made a decision. He had been watching her for 4 weeks like some kind of strange observer, and it was time to either introduce himself or stop coming to the park. The latter felt impossible. He stood, brushed off his jeans, and walked toward her bench before he could talk himself out of it. Maya noticed the man approaching and looked up with her standard friendly smile, the one she gave everyone in the park. He was tall, probably over 6 feet, with dark brown hair that was slightly tousled by the wind. He wore jeans and a simple gray sweater that looked expensive despite its casual style. His face was handsome in a classic way, strong jawline and clear blue eyes, but there was something in his expression that suggested sadness beneath the surface. "Hi," he said, stopping a respectful distance from her bench. His voice was deeper than she expected, confident but not aggressive. "I hope I am not bothering you." "Not at all," Maya said. "Are you and your partner interested in some photos?" She glanced around, looking for whoever he might be with. "No, I am here alone," Daniel said quickly. "Actually, I have been watching you work." Not in a creepy way, he added, realizing how that sounded. "I mean, I have seen you here the past few Saturdays offering free photography to couples. It is a really kind thing you are doing." Maya's smile became more genuine, less automatic. "Thank you. It started as a way to practice portrait photography, but it has become something I really love." "You are very good at it," Daniel said. "I watched you with that last couple. You made them so comfortable." "Well, thank you for saying so." Maya studied him more carefully now. There was something about him that seemed lonely despite his confident demeanor. "I am Maya, by the way." "Daniel," he said, extending his hand. She shook it, noting the firm but not overwhelming grip. "Nice to meet you, Daniel. Do you come to the park often?" "More recently, yes." "I am trying to get out of the house more." He hesitated, then added, "My wife passed away 2 years ago. My family thinks I have become too isolated." Maya's expression softened immediately. "I am so sorry for your loss." "Thank you." Daniel appreciated that she did not launch into a series of questions or uncomfortable platitudes. "What about you? Beyond the free photography, what brings you to the park every Saturday?" "Honestly, this is what brings me here," Maya said, gesturing to her camera and sign. I work as a physical therapist during the week, which I love, but it is very structured and clinical. This is my way of being creative and connecting with people in a different way. Plus, I am a sucker for love stories. She laughed, a light sound that made Daniel smile despite himself. A physical therapist, Daniel said. That is a great profession, very hands-on, helping people recover. Exactly. It is rewarding but exhausting. By Saturday, I am ready to do something that feels less like work. She tilted her head, studying him. What do you do, Daniel? I run a manufacturing company, he said, keeping it vague. He had learned years ago that mentioning specifics about his wealth often changed how people treated him. Medical equipment, mostly. It is busy but not particularly creative. Sounds like we both need our escapes, Maya said. They talked for another 15 minutes, the conversation flowing easily. Daniel learned that Maya was 28, had grown up in the city, lived in a small apartment in the Brookside neighborhood, and had a younger sister getting married in 6 months. Maya learned that Daniel was 34, had taken over his father's business after his death, enjoyed running but had fallen out of the habit, and was currently being set up on blind dates by his well-meaning but intrusive sister. How are those blind dates going? Maya asked, a teasing note in her voice. Daniel grimaced. Terribly. The last one spent the entire dinner talking about her yacht club. The one before that asked if I wanted to invest in her cryptocurrency startup before we even ordered appetizers. Maya laughed, a genuine full laugh that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. That is awful. Your sister needs to improve her screening process. I keep telling her to stop, but she is relentless. Daniel found himself smiling more than he had in months. There was something easy about talking to Maya. What about you? Is there a significant other who minds you spending your Saturdays photographing other couples? No, I am single, Maya said. I was in a relationship until about a year ago, but it ended mutually. He got a job offer in Seattle and wanted to take it. I did not want to leave my family and my job here. We cared about each other, but not enough to restructure our lives, I suppose. That sounds remarkably mature and drama-free, Daniel said. We are both pretty practical people. Or at least I thought we were. Maya shrugged. Looking back, I think the relationship was more comfortable than passionate. We were good friends who dated, but there was not that spark everyone talks about. Before Daniel could respond, a couple approached Maya's bench, asking about the photography offer. Maya glanced at Daniel apologetically. I should let you work, he said, but I really enjoyed talking with you, Maya. I enjoyed it too, she said and meant it. Daniel hesitated, then took a chance. Would you be interested in getting coffee sometime? As friends, no pressure, I just think you are interesting to talk to. Maya smiled. I would like that. Let me give you my number. They exchanged phone numbers, and Daniel walked away feeling lighter than he had in 2 years. He glanced back once and saw Maya setting up for the new couple's photos, her face animated and happy. Something in his chest, something he thought had died with Catherine, stirred faintly back to life. 3 days later, on Tuesday evening, Daniel texted Maya asking if she wanted to meet for coffee on Thursday. She responded within an hour, agreeing and suggesting a cafe near her work. When Thursday arrived, Daniel found himself actually nervous, something he had not experienced since his first date with Catherine over a decade ago. The cafe was a cozy, independent spot with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Maya was already there when Daniel arrived, sitting at a small table by the window with 2 cups in front of her. I took a guess and got you a regular coffee, she said as he sat down. But if you want something fancier, I can drink both of these. Daniel laughed. Regular coffee is perfect. Thank you. She looked different than she had in the park. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders in dark waves, and she wore professional clothes, dark slacks and a blue blouse, clearly having come straight from work. She looked tired but happy to see him. "Long day?" he asked. "Marathon day," Maya said. "I had back-to-back patients from 8 this morning until 30 minutes ago. One of my colleagues called in sick, so I took some of her appointments." "That is generous of you, or foolish, depending on how you look at it," Maya said with a grin. "My feet are killing me. I spend all day telling people how to move properly and take care of their bodies, then I ignore all my own advice." They fell into conversation easily, picking up where they had left off in the park. Daniel found himself telling Maya about his childhood, growing up in a household focused on business and success. His father had been demanding but loving, always pushing Daniel to be better, to work harder. His mother was the opposite, warm and encouraging, always making sure Daniel and Claire knew they were loved regardless of their achievements. "It sounds like they balanced each other well," Maya said. "They did. When my dad died, it felt like the whole family lost its center. My mom tried to hold everything together, but she was grieving too. Claire was only 19, still in college. I was 26 and suddenly responsible for a company I was not ready to run." Daniel stared into his coffee. "Those first few years were brutal." "But you made it work," Maya said gently, "eventually. I had good people around me, employees who knew more than I did. I listened to them, learned fast, and somehow did not run the company into the ground." He smiled slightly. "My dad would probably have done things differently, but I think he would be proud of where the company is now." Maya reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "I am sure he would be." The gesture was simple but genuine, and Daniel felt that same stirring in his chest from the park. He cleared his throat and shifted the subject. "What about your family? You mentioned your sister is getting married." Maya's face lit up. "Yes, Emma. She is 25 and absolutely head over heels for her fiancé, Marcus. He is great, really. He is a teacher at an elementary school, patient and kind, exactly what Emma needs. Their wedding is in March, and she has been planning every detail for months." "Are you in the wedding party, maid of honor?" Maya said proudly. "Which means I am responsible for the bachelorette party, the bridal shower, keeping Emma calm when she inevitably panics, and giving a speech that will make everyone cry. No pressure." "You seem like you can handle it," Daniel said. "I hope so. Emma and I are close. Our parents divorced when I was 12 and she was 9. They were civil about it, thank goodness, but it was still hard. Emma and I leaned on each other a lot growing up. I have always felt protective of her." They talked for over 2 hours, long after they finished their coffee. The cafe began to empty as evening turned to night, but neither of them seemed to notice. Finally, Maya glanced at her phone and gasped. "It is almost 8. I am so sorry I have been talking your ear off. Do not apologize. I have enjoyed every minute." Daniel stood when she did. "Can I walk you to your car?" "I took the bus, actually. My car is in the shop this week." "Then let me drive you home," Daniel offered. "It is dark out." Maya hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, thank you." Daniel's car was parked a block away. When they reached it, Maya tried not to react, but she could not help noticing it was a sleek black Mercedes, clearly expensive. Daniel noticed her expression and felt a flicker of anxiety. He had enjoyed the past 2 hours precisely because Maya seemed to see him as just Daniel, not as a successful businessman or someone with money. The drive to Maya's apartment took 15 minutes. They continued talking, and by the time Daniel pulled up in front of her building, a modest 3-story structure in a working-class neighborhood, Maya felt completely comfortable with him. "Thank you for the ride," she said, gathering her bag. "And for the coffee." "Well, for my coffee since I bought yours," she grinned. Next time is on me, Daniel said. If you want there to be a next time. I do, Maya said simply. Text me. I will. She got out of the car, waved, and headed into her building. Daniel waited until she was safely inside before driving away, a smile on his face that lasted the entire drive home. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Maya saw each other regularly. They met for coffee, went to dinner at casual restaurants, took walks in Riverside Park, and talked on the phone when their schedules did not align. Daniel found himself opening up to Maya in ways he had not with anyone since Catherine's death. She made him laugh, challenged his perspectives, and never treated him like he was fragile or broken. Maya, for her part, found herself thinking about Daniel constantly. He was thoughtful and intelligent, with a dry sense of humor that caught her off guard. There was a quiet strength to him, a sense that he had been through tremendous pain and emerged intact. She appreciated that he listened to her, really listened, and remembered small details from their conversations. One Saturday in early October, Daniel showed up at the park while Maya was setting up her photography station. "You are here early," she said, surprised but pleased. "I thought maybe I could watch you work if that is okay. I promise not to be creepy about it." He smiled. "You can help me if you want," Maya said impulsively. "I could use an assistant. I know nothing about photography." "You do not need to. You can hold my reflector, help me scout locations, maybe talk to the couples if they seem nervous, friendly presence and all that." Daniel agreed and spent the afternoon as Maya's unofficial assistant. He held the collapsible reflector to bounce light, carried her backup camera bag, and chatted with couples while Maya reviewed shots. He was surprised by how much he enjoyed it, being part of her process, seeing her work up close. They photographed 4 couples that day. A pair of college students on their first date who were adorably awkward, an older couple celebrating 50 years of marriage. 2 men who had recently moved to the city and wanted photos to send to their families back home. And a nervous young man who had hired Maya the previous week to photograph his surprise proposal, which went off perfectly with tears and cheers from nearby park visitors. After the last session, as the sun began to set, Maya packed up her equipment with Daniel's help. "Thank you for today," she said. "You were actually really helpful." "I had a great time," Daniel said honestly. "Watching you work, seeing how you interact with people, it is really special, Maya." She blushed slightly. "It is just taking pictures. It is more than that. You are capturing memories, moments people will look back on for the rest of their lives. And you do it for free just because you love it." He paused. "You are pretty remarkable." Maya looked up at him, and something in the air between them shifted. They were standing close, and the fading sunlight cast everything in golden tones. Daniel reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Maya," he said softly. "Yes. I would really like to kiss you right now if that is okay." Her heart hammered in her chest. "That is very okay." He leaned down, and their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, then deeper. Maya felt electricity run through her entire body, a spark she had told Daniel she had never felt with her ex. This was different. This was everything. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "I have wanted to do that for weeks," Daniel admitted. "Why did you wait so long?" Maya asked breathlessly. "I wanted to make sure this was real, that I was not just drawn to you because you made me feel less alone, but it is real, Maya. What I feel for you is very real." "I feel it too," she said, her hand resting on his chest. "I was starting to think I imagined it." They kissed again, longer this time, and when they finally left the park hand in hand, everything felt different. Better. Right. Their relationship progressed naturally from there. They continued seeing each other multiple times a week, and the physical affection grew alongside the emotional connection. Daniel was careful not to rush things, aware of his own vulnerability and wanting to honor what they were building together. Maya appreciated his patience and found herself falling for him more deeply with each passing day. 6 weeks after their first kiss, Daniel invited Maya to his house for dinner. He had been deliberately vague about his financial situation, and she assumed he lived comfortably, but had no idea of the true extent of his wealth. When she pulled up to the address he had given her, following her GPS through increasingly upscale neighborhoods, she felt the first flutter of confusion. The house was not a house. It was an estate, a modern masterpiece of glass and stone set back from the road with a gated entrance. Maya sat in her newly repaired car staring at the gate, wondering if she had the wrong address. She called Daniel. "Hey, I think my GPS messed up. It brought me to some mansion." Daniel's voice was apologetic. "No, that is the right place. Press the call button on the gate panel, and I will buzz you in." Maya did as instructed, driving slowly up the long driveway with her mouth slightly open. The house was stunning, 3 stories with floor-to-ceiling windows, surrounded by manicured grounds. She parked near the front entrance where Daniel was waiting. He looked nervous. "Before you say anything, let me explain." "Daniel, what is this?" Maya gestured to the house. "This is where I live. I should have told you sooner, but I like that you did not treat me differently because of money." "Most people do once they know." Maya took a breath, processing. "When you said you ran a manufacturing company, I thought you meant like a manager or something." "I own the company, Morrison Manufacturing. We are one of the largest medical equipment suppliers in the country." "How large?" "Last year we did about $120 million in revenue." Maya sat down on her car's bumper. $120 million. "I know this is a lot to take in. If you want to leave, I will understand, but I hope you will stay for dinner and let me explain why I did not tell you sooner." Maya looked up at him, this man she had been falling in love with, and saw genuine fear in his eyes. Fear that this revelation would change everything. And maybe it did change things, but not in the way he feared. "You thought I would treat you differently," she said slowly. "Everyone does." "Daniel, I have been falling for you for weeks. You think a big house is going to scare me off." Relief washed over his face. "You are not upset." "I am surprised, definitely. Maybe a little overwhelmed, but upset." "No." She stood up and walked to him. "Though I am now understanding why your sister's blind dates were asking about investments." He laughed, pulling her into a hug. "I should have told you sooner. I am sorry. You can make it up to me with this dinner you promised." Daniel gave Maya a tour of the house, which was even more impressive inside than out. High ceilings, expensive art, a chef's kitchen, a home gym, a library, and 6 bedrooms. It was beautiful but felt somewhat empty, like a showroom rather than a home. "Catherine decorated most of it," Daniel said as they walked through the living room. "After she died, I could not bring myself to change anything. My mom keeps saying I should update it, make it mine, but I have not had the energy." Maya squeezed his hand. "It is beautiful. But I can see what your mom means. It does not quite feel like you." "What feels like me?" "I do not know yet. Less formal, maybe, more lived in." She smiled. "More books scattered around, coffee cups on tables, running shoes by the door." "So basically messier," Daniel teased. "Basically." He made dinner himself, refusing Maya's offers to help. He was a competent cook, and they ate grilled salmon with roasted vegetables at the kitchen island rather than the formal dining room. They talked about his business, how it had grown, the responsibility he felt to his employees, and his father's legacy. Maya told him more about her work at the rehab center, the patients she loved helping, the bureaucracy that sometimes frustrated her. After dinner, they moved to the living room, settling on the couch with glasses of wine. The conversation turned more serious. "When Catherine died, I thought my life was over." Daniel said quietly. Not in a dramatic way, but in a practical sense. We had plans. We were going to have kids, travel more, grow old together. When she got sick, it happened so fast, 6 months from diagnosis to death. I spent that whole time trying to fix it, throwing money at every specialist, every experimental treatment. Nothing worked. I am so sorry, Daniel. After she was gone, I threw myself into work. 16-hour days, 7 days a week. My mom and Claire were terrified I was going to work myself to death. Finally, about 6 months ago, Claire staged an intervention, told me I needed to start living again, even if it was just small steps. Like going to the park on Saturdays, Maya said. Exactly. And then I saw you week after week spreading joy for complete strangers. You were so alive, so present. I was drawn to you. Maya set down her wine glass and turned to face him fully. Daniel, I need you to know something. I am falling in love with you. The you I have gotten to know over these past 2 months. This house, your company, the money, that is all just details. What matters is who you are, how you treat people, how you make me feel. Daniel's eyes were bright. I am falling in love with you too, Maya. I did not think I could feel this way again, but you have brought me back to life. They kissed, and this time it was filled with the weight of their confessions. They spent the rest of the evening wrapped up in each other, talking and kissing and holding one another until Maya reluctantly said she needed to go home. Stay, Daniel said. I have 6 guest rooms. You can have your pick. Maya laughed. I have work early tomorrow and I need to go home and change. But soon, okay, soon, he agreed. Over the next few months, Daniel and Maya's relationship deepened in every way. Maya met his mother and sister, both of whom adored her immediately. Patricia told Daniel privately that she had not seen him this happy since before Catherine's illness, and Claire joked that she could finally stop setting him up on terrible dates. Daniel met Maya's family at Emma's bridal shower in November. Her mother was warm and welcoming, her father was reserved but kind, and Emma pulled Maya aside within 10 minutes of meeting Daniel to whisper, "He is perfect. Do not let him go." Daniel got to know the patients at Maya's work when he stopped by to take her to lunch one day. He watched her work with a teenager recovering from a car accident, encouraging and pushing her in equal measure, and saw yet another dimension of the woman he loved. Maya became a regular presence at Daniel's house, slowly adding her touches. A throw blanket on the couch, her favorite snacks in the pantry, a toothbrush in the master bathroom. By December, she was staying over several nights a week. One evening, as they decorated Daniel's house for Christmas, something he had not done in 2 years, Maya brought up something that had been on her mind. "Have you thought about what you want for the future?" she asked carefully. "Kids, marriage, all of that." Daniel stopped hanging ornaments and turned to her. "I have thought about it a lot lately, actually. With Catherine, we had plans, but we never got to fulfill them. For a long time, I could not imagine making those plans with anyone else. And now I can imagine it with you." He set down the ornament and walked over to her. "Maya, I love you. I want a future with you. I want everything with you." "I want that too," she said, her eyes filling with happy tears. "I know it is early. We have only been together a few months. I am not going to rush you or pressure you, but I need you to know that this is not casual for me. You are it. You are it for me too, Daniel." They held each other as snow began to fall outside the window, the Christmas tree lights twinkling around them. For the first time in years, Daniel felt complete peace. The grief of losing Catherine would always be part of him, but it no longer defined him. Maya had shown him that it was possible to honor the past while embracing the future. Emma's wedding in March was a beautiful affair. Maya stood beside her sister as maid of honor, wearing a dusty blue dress that Daniel could not stop looking at. During the reception, he watched Maya give her speech, which did indeed make everyone cry, and felt overwhelmed with love for her. When the dance floor opened, Daniel found Maya immediately. "May I have this dance, maid of honor? You may, handsome stranger." They swayed together to a slow song, and Daniel leaned down to whisper in her ear. "I have been thinking." "About what?" "About how much I love you, about how you have changed my life, about how I want to spend every day for the rest of my life making you as happy as you make me." Maya pulled back to look at him. "Daniel Morrison, are you proposing to me on my sister's wedding dance floor?" "No," he said with a grin. "I am not that tacky. I am just giving you advance warning that a proposal is coming. Soon." "How soon?" "You will have to wait and see." The proposal came 2 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon in Riverside Park. Daniel had conspired with Maya's entire family to pull it off. He told Maya he wanted to watch her do her photography sessions, something he had done regularly over the past months. When they arrived at the park, her usual bench had been decorated with flowers and photographs from their relationship, printed and hung on a nearby trellis. "Daniel, what is this?" Maya gasped. "This is me asking you to marry me." He took her hand and led her to the bench. A crowd had gathered, including Maya's parents, Emma and Marcus, Daniel's mother and sister, and several couples Maya had photographed over the past year. Daniel got down on one knee, pulling a ring box from his pocket. "Maya Chen, you have brought light back into my life. You have taught me that it is possible to love again, to hope again, to build a future again. You see me for who I am, not what I have. You make me want to be better every day. Will you marry me?" Maya was crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, a beautiful princess-cut diamond in a platinum setting, and stood to kiss her as their families and friends cheered. Emma rushed forward to hug her sister, and Patricia embraced her future daughter-in-law with joy. "I have one more surprise," Daniel said once the initial excitement calmed down. He nodded to Emma, who brought over Maya's camera. "I thought we should get engagement photos right here where it all started." "Who is going to take them?" Maya asked. A familiar voice called out, "I will." Maya turned to see her photography mentor, David Chen, her uncle on her father's side, walking toward them with his professional camera. She had studied under him in college, and he was the one who had encouraged her to pursue photography alongside her physical therapy career. "Uncle David." She hugged him tightly. "I cannot believe you are here. I would not miss this for anything," he said. "Now, let me photograph my niece and her fiancé in their spot." The photos were perfect. Maya and Daniel on the bench where they first talked. Under the oak tree where Maya had photographed so many couples. By the fountain where they had their first kiss. Surrounded by the people who loved them most. That evening, at a celebratory dinner Daniel had arranged at a private room in the city's best restaurant, Maya stood to give a toast. "I started photographing couples in the park because I believed in love, even though I had not experienced it in its fullest form yet. I wanted to capture joy for other people, to give them memories they would treasure. I never imagined that doing that would lead me to the love of my life." She looked at Daniel, her eyes shining. "You were watching me work, seeing who I was at my core, falling for me before we ever spoke. That is the most romantic thing I can imagine. I cannot wait to spend my life with you, capturing our own moments, building our own memories." Daniel stood and kissed her to applause and happy tears from their families. They married 6 months later in September, exactly 1 year after they met. The wedding was held at a beautiful estate outside the city, with 200 guests including Daniel's employees, Maya's patients and co-workers, and everyone they loved. Emma was matron of honor, and Claire was a bridesmaid. Daniel's best friend from college, Michael, served as best man. During the ceremony, which took place in a garden at sunset, both Daniel and Maya cried. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. Daniel promised to always see Maya for who she was, to support her dreams, and to love her with everything he had. Maya promised to bring light to Daniel's life every day, to honor his past while building their future, and to love him through all of life's challenges. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, they kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, and everyone stood and cheered. At the reception, they danced their first dance to the same song that had played at Emma's wedding, the night Daniel had warned Maya a proposal was coming. Halfway through, Daniel surprised Maya by having the DJ play an additional song, during which a slideshow played on screens around the room. It showed photos from Maya's park photography project, dozens of couples she had photographed over the past year and a half. Many of those couples were at the wedding, and they waved and cheered when their photos appeared. "You have brought so much joy to so many people," Daniel said as they danced. "I wanted everyone to see that, to celebrate who you are." "You are going to make me cry again," Maya said, already tearing up. "That is okay. You are a beautiful crier." They honeymooned in Italy for 2 weeks, exploring Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. Maya brought her camera and photographed everything, while Daniel carried her equipment and planned surprises. They ate incredible food, stayed in luxury hotels, and talked about their future. "I want to keep doing the park photography," Maya said one evening as they sat on a terrace overlooking the Mediterranean. "Even though my life is changing, that is important to me. Of course. We will make sure you have time for it," Daniel said. "Actually, I have been thinking about something. What if we started a foundation? We could provide grants to young photographers, fund art programs in schools, support emerging artists. You could run it, make it your own." Maya's eyes widened. "Daniel, are you serious?" "Completely. You have always talked about how expensive it is for people to pursue creative careers. We have the resources to help change that. If it is something you want to do, we will make it happen." "I would love that, but I do not want to give up physical therapy either. I love my patients." "Then do not give it up. Do both, or cut back your hours at the clinic and split your time. You do not have to choose, Maya. You can have everything you want." She kissed him, overwhelmed by his support. "How did I get so lucky?" "I think I am the lucky one," Daniel said. "You saved me, Maya. You brought me back to life." When they returned from Italy, they settled into married life with surprising ease. Maya officially moved into Daniel's house, and together they redecorated, making it feel like their home rather than his. They painted walls, bought new furniture, filled the space with books and photographs and warmth. The formal living room became a cozy library. One of the guest rooms became Maya's photography studio. The house transformed from a museum to a home. They launched the Morrison Chen Arts Foundation 6 months after their wedding, with Maya as director. She cut her hours at the rehabilitation center to 3 days a week, using the other 2 days to run the foundation and continue her park photography project. The foundation provided grants to 20 aspiring artists in its first year and funded art programs at 5 underfunded schools. Maya loved the work, and Daniel loved watching her thrive. A year and a half into their marriage, Maya started feeling tired and nauseous. She brushed it off as stress at first, but when the symptoms persisted, she took a pregnancy test. When it came back positive, she sat on the bathroom floor crying happy tears for 20 minutes. She surprised Daniel that evening by setting up a small photography session in their living room. She handed him a card that read, "Our newest subject arrives in 7 months." Daniel stared at the card, processing, then looked at Maya with wide eyes. "You are pregnant," she nodded, tears streaming down her face again. "We are having a baby." He swept her into his arms, careful not to squeeze too tight, and they both cried and laughed and held each other. After everything Daniel had been through, all the loss and grief, he was getting to experience this joy, this new beginning. "Catherine would be happy for you," Maya said softly, reading his thoughts. "For us." "I know," Daniel said. "I think she would have really liked you. I wish I could have known her." "Me too." Their daughter, Sophie Catherine Morrison, was born on a sunny afternoon in May. She had Daniel's blue eyes and Maya's dark hair, and from the moment they held her, both parents were hopelessly in love. Daniel cried when he held her for the first time, overwhelmed by the perfection of this tiny person, the family he thought he would never have. Patricia and Claire were at the hospital within hours, and Maya's parents and Emma arrived soon after. Everyone took turns holding Sophie, marveling at her tiny fingers and toes, placing bets on whose personality she would inherit. "She is going to be a handful," Emma predicted. "Look at that grip." "She is going to be perfect," Daniel said, unable to take his eyes off his daughter. Maya watched her husband hold their baby and felt her heart might burst from happiness. She thought about the woman she had been 2.5 years ago, sitting on a bench in Riverside Park with her camera and her sign, not knowing that her entire life was about to change. She thought about Daniel, grieving and lost, watching her work from a distance, working up the courage to introduce himself. "What are you thinking about?" Daniel asked, noticing her expression. "About how everything led us here," Maya said. "Every choice, every moment, everything that happened brought us to this. I would live through it all again if it meant ending up here with you and Sophie," Daniel said. They brought Sophie home 2 days later to a house filled with flowers and gifts and love. Daniel had installed a state-of-the-art nursery, but Sophie spent most of her first week sleeping in a bassinet in their bedroom, both parents too in love to want her far away. Maya continued her park photography sessions once she recovered from childbirth, now bringing Sophie along in a stroller. Couples loved meeting the baby, and Maya joked that Sophie was her best photography assistant, melting everyone's hearts and making them smile naturally for the camera. When Sophie was 6 months old, Maya and Daniel took their first family photos in Riverside Park, on the same bench where they had first talked. Maya set up her camera on a tripod with a timer, and they captured images of the three of them, Daniel holding Sophie while Maya leaned against him, all of them smiling. Those photos hung in their home alongside the images from Maya's park project, Emma's wedding, their own engagement and wedding, and countless other memories. Their house was no longer a showroom but a home filled with love and laughter and life. On Sophie's first birthday, they threw a party in their backyard. Friends and family gathered to celebrate, and as Maya looked around at everyone she loved, at the life she and Daniel had built together, she felt overwhelming gratitude. That evening, after everyone had left and Sophie was asleep, Maya and Daniel sat on their back patio watching the stars. "I have been thinking about that day in the park," Daniel said. "When I first saw you, I was so lost, Maya. I did not know how to move forward, how to live again after Catherine. And then there you were, this woman spreading joy to strangers, and something in me woke up. I am glad you were brave enough to approach me," Maya said, taking his hand. "Best decision I ever made." He kissed her temple. "You know what I love most about our story?" "What?" It was not dramatic or complicated. It was two people who were ready to love, finding each other at the right time. It was simple and real and perfect. "It was not always simple," Maya pointed out. "You were grieving, I was cautious. We had to figure out how to blend our lives. But we did it," Daniel said. "And now we have all of this. Sophie, the foundation, our families, our home, we have everything." "We do," Maya agreed. They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, feeling the contentment of a love well earned. Inside, their daughter slept peacefully, dreaming baby dreams. Around them, their home glowed with warmth. Above them, stars scattered across the night sky like diamonds, like moments, like memories captured and held forever. Maya thought about picking up her camera to photograph this moment, but decided against it. Some moments did not need to be captured in a frame. Some moments were perfect just as they were, lived and felt and remembered in the heart. This was one of those moments, and Maya knew she would carry it with her always, along with every other beautiful moment that had brought her to this life, this love, this happiness. Years from now, when Sophie was old enough to understand, Maya and Daniel would take her to Riverside Park. They would show her the bench where they met, tell her the story of how a physical therapist with a camera and a grieving widower with a wounded heart had found each other on a sunny September afternoon. They would explain how love sometimes arrives quietly, without fanfare, in the simple act of showing up and being open to possibility. They would teach Sophie what they had learned, that love requires courage and vulnerability and hope, that it means honoring the past while embracing the future, that it can heal wounds you thought were permanent and fill spaces you thought would always be empty. But that was years away. Tonight, they simply sat together under the stars, two people who had found their way through grief and loneliness to joy and love. Two people who had taken a chance on each other and built something beautiful. Two people who knew, without question, that they were exactly where they were meant to be. Daniel squeezed Maya's hand. "I love you. I love you too," Maya said. "Always." And in that moment, in their home filled with light and love and promise, everything was perfect. Their story, which began with curiosity and courage in a park on an autumn afternoon, had become the greatest love story either of them had ever known. It was not a fairy tale, but something better. It was real, and it was theirs, and it was forever.